Hey, what's up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of the Persistent Entrepreneur Podcast. Today we're with AJ Vaden. I hope I said the Vaden right. Correct. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for being here, I should say. Thanks for having us. We thank you for being here. So yeah, I guess I'm speaking for you. But I'm glad you're here with us today, and I love personal branding. And I also love wealth and being well known, which ultimately leads to wealth. A good friend of mine says if they don't know you, they can't flow you. So
That's right.
I find that interesting. So thanks again for joining us today.
Yes, it's going to be a great conversation. I'm excited to have it.
Absolutely. So AJ is the CEO and co-founder of Brand Builders Group, a brand strategy firm that helps mission-driven messengers build and monetize their reputation. She's an author, keynote speaker, and host of the influential personal branding podcast with clients ranging from New York Times bestselling authors to eight-figure entrepreneurs. So again, appreciate you joining us. Tell us why or what caused you to jump into your current field with branding, and then tell us why it's so important now, especially in these times.
Yeah, so I would actually say how we got into the world of personal branding was a little accidental in the respect of we didn't realize at the time that most of our business was being built by reputation. And so Brand Builders Group, which is the current company my husband and I run, we're business partners, is our second company together. And our first business was a sales coaching business. And we started as a sales seminar business where we would put on motivational sales conferences. We traveled all around the country doing that. We turned that into a sales consulting and sales coaching business, grew that with two other business partners to a healthy 8 figures. And then there was one glorious and potentially unfortunate day, which ended up being the biggest blessing of my life, where I walked into a routine board meeting with our majority investors and got really fired from the company that we founded. And the previous 13 years was building the sales coaching business. And we were doing it from cold calling and running workshops and getting referrals. And it was just hardcore sales. And that's hard work. And I have no problem doing it. There's a time and a place for it. But over the course of time, what we started to realize is that the best business we got, the best clients we had, the biggest clients we have aren't ones that we cold called. These were ones that were hand introduced to us. They were walked into our doors because of a reputation that we had built. And so when I got fired, my husband resigned 2 weeks later, and we had an opportunity to say, if we were going to build this business again, how would we do it differently? Which is, I think, a really big blessing that not every entrepreneur gets to make, is it all burns down, but you actually get to do it different and do it better the second time if you learned the necessary lessons. And so what we said is in this second round is that we wanted to focus more on the thing that could never be taken away, which was our reputation. And what we learned through the process of losing kind of our first business. And it wasn't just that, it was a complete Cortez moment. It was a burning of the boats moment where we lost our social media, we lost our podcast, we lost our email list, we lost our client list, we lost our team. Like if we had it in business, it was gone. We lost our income. Everything we had just went overnight. And we were living under the assumption that those were things we owned, like those were ours. And when we found out,
So I'm curious. So when you say that, and this will be helpful because we have all entrepreneurs on here, and most of them are business owners or people that started business and probably believe they do own their business. So I'm curious to know how did that, I mean, if you built the business, you and your husband, how did you end up losing it? Like, what was the mistake that led to that?
well, I say this lovingly, the mistake was the decision and partnership.
Mm.
Right? And it's like some partnerships end really well, some don't. Right? And so we had two other business partners and then a majority investor. And we were living under the guise that this was ours and not realizing that no, at the end of the day, this wasn't so much ours as we thought it was. When you have, business partners and investors and a whole lot of equity partnerships, it's not as much yours as you think it is.
Hmm.
And, and what we didn't realize is that things like Facebook would be up for grabs in a separation, and things like a podcast, things that are seemingly ours, things like your name and a URL, all of a sudden, these are things that are up for grabs in a business separation. And when that all happened, it was a humbling and eye-opening moment, but also an opportunity to do it different second time around. And the one thing that we realized in the middle of losing a whole bunch of stuff that we really still had was our reputation. Like, we really still had good, solid relationships. And even though things were kind of up in flames all around us, there were still some things that were working, such as good, strong relationships, good, open communication with friends, clients that were like, I don't care what y'all do. I would work with you, whatever you do. And so there was still some of that kind of was hovering underneath this. And one of the biggest lessons that we learned is the importance of building relationships before you ever need them. And so in the middle of this kind of chaotic environment where I had gotten fired, it was in this 2-week window before my husband resigned. We got a call from, at that time, just a mutual acquaintance. Wasn't a good friend, wasn't a client, but it was somebody who we had built a decent relationship with in the personal branding realm. His name is Lewis Howes, right? He's the host of the School of Greatness podcast, one of the top podcasts in the world. And we had met him a decade earlier when my husband launched his first book. And it was a cold pitch to be on his podcast before his podcast was as big as it is today. And through that process, we went through a book launch. And then when he was going through a book launch, we're like, we'll tell you what we learned. We'll tell you what we know, not for money, not because he was a client, not to get anything, just because I know something that will help you. So here you go. Then out of nowhere, 2 years had gone by. We hadn't even had a conversation with him. And 2 days after I got fired, Lewis called my husband and I and said, hey, I'm in this position right now in my business where I feel diluted. I feel stuck. I feel like I'm doing too many things all at the same time. I feel really stretched. And I feel like we're kind of in this season of we're just not growing. And I don't have clarity on what to do next. I don't know why, but I got this feeling that you guys are meant to help me with this. Any chance you guys have some time on your calendar? And both of us looked at each other and said, well, ironically, we have open calendars. Sure. So he flew to Nashville, Tennessee, and we spent 2 days just talking business, just sharing what we know. And I think there's 2 big takeaways here is one, we had built an offline relationship with Lewis for a long time, just providing value for free. And that, at the end of the day, was a part of what launched and catapulted our new business. The second thing is that we didn't hesitate for a second to go, if we know it, we're happy to help. Don't need a business, don't need to charge a fee. If we can help, the answer is yes. And by the end of those 2 days, Lewis is the one who compelled us, inspired us, and pretty much pushed us into launching this new business, all rounded around this concept of the importance and the value of reputation, of being known for a thing that people can come to you for before you ever even tell them that's what you do. And so we started this entire business 7 years ago after those 2 days spending with Lewis Howes in our basement. And after those 2 days, and I think this means a lot for everyone who's listening in this entrepreneurial world, we launched Brand Builders Group, which is a personal brand strategy firm with no website, no social media, no podcast, no email list, no fancy funnels, no big CRM. We launched it with an unstylized landing page with a picture of me and my husband with an orange button that said, request a call here. And we launched it on Lewis's podcast. And because we had a trusted offline relationship with Lewis, and because he had years and years of building a trusted online relationship with his audience, we were able to launch our business on a single podcast that then resulted in 1,000 calls being requested on our very unstylized landing page.
Mm.
And I think
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, so it sounds like so you shared a lot there. So let me just break down a couple things that you talked about is first thing is, you went through this challenge with your business, but it didn't stop you because you had the reputation and you had the relationship with a lot of those people that were your clients, even though you had the business partners and that didn't go, but you still had the relationship, correct? So that was the first thing I wrote down. And the second is, Lewis Howes, you had a relationship with Lewis, obviously, which I mean, helps you springboard if Lewis puts you on his podcast and, you get 1,000 requests. I mean, that's for anybody that would, anybody that can manage a business, that would certainly help. Most people wouldn't even be able to handle 1,000 requests. Not most people, but a lot of small entrepreneurs. But I am curious when it comes to Lewis, um, you know, so Lewis has this big podcast and he's reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, I need your help." Tell us about that. I'm curious. And I don't know Lewis the way you know. I know who he is. But I'm curious to understand what did you help Lewis with? You don't have to tell us like specifically, but
well, and I love that he's pretty transparent. And I think he suffered from the same thing that we all suffer from as business owners, coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, is we try to do all the things all at once. And
mm,
one of our big mantras that we say is diluted focus gets diluted results. And for most of us, there's this huge temptation to do more, right? I think one of the worst pieces of advice on the internet is that you should have multiple streams of revenue, multiple streams of income. And when I often ask people, but why? Why do you need that? It's like, do you have the team to support that? Do you have the capacity to be excellent at that? Is that even really what you want to do? Is that where your audience is? Is that where you have the most momentum? Most people can't even answer those questions. But we get this advice of, hey, you need to have multiple, streams of revenue. You need to have diversified portfolios. You need to have this. You need to have this. But they don't really know why. And for most small business owners, they're barely keeping up with the main thing that they have. They're barely scratching the surface of reaching their audience to the maximum impact. They're barely capitalizing on the income and revenue opportunities they have with what they have existing. And then instead of going and doubling down on that thing, they start something new. And it's like we just get spread too thin. We say yes
yeah,
to too many things. And when we started working with Lewis, and again, I say working with, like this was a 2 days just conversation. He had 17 revenue streams, 17. And you think about revenue streams, they don't have to be separate businesses, right? These are product lines, service offerings, different package offerings. And one of the things I think is really important, specifically in this kind of like world, we spend a lot of time working with thought leaders. So people who are speakers, coaches, consultants, authors, podcasters. And it's like each one of those things is potentially its own revenue stream. And you may not see it that way. Like with some of the speakers we work with, they speak on 7 different topics. That's being diluted, right? You cannot become known for 7 things. You can
mm.
become really well known for
So
one thing.
so just so I'm gonna jump in again. Father, sorry to keep interrupting you. I just questions or so, and I come from the background or my mentor, Gary Keller told me that we should have a lot of multiple streams, but they all should be connected to the main thing, which is in my case it was, and it still in a lot of ways is real estate, right? So I can have a real estate, I can have affiliates, I can have investment right? So it's not like I'm doing real estate and then I'm a chiropractor and then I'm a right. So is that kind of what you're referring to as well? Because I'm struggling with the not having
Yes.
multiple streams of income, right? Because I have investment properties, and it's nice to get a nice check that comes in every month from me doing nothing over there except having somebody manage my property, right? And then
So
I've got affiliate money coming in from here, and so I'm struggling when you say we shouldn't have multiple streams of income. So maybe I'm not understanding it correctly.
So there's 3 things that are at play with this. Number 1, no one starts with multiple things. right? And I think that's where a lot of people suffer, is before they're good at one thing, before they're actually succeeding at one thing, they think that, oh, I need to add the next thing in, right? So that's the first thing, right? There is a time and a place for you to expand, but there is an order, there is a cadence to it. And what most people do is they skip the process. They want to jump ahead. And before they're known for one thing, before they have success and expertise, and before it's on maintenance isn't the right word, before it's at a level that you can invest time, energy, and focus into something else, they're already off to the other thing, right? And I'll give you a couple of real life examples. Amazon. What did Amazon start as?
Books, right? Bookstore, I believe. Is that, yeah, that's correct,
They
right?
were the first real online book retailer. But think about it. They didn't start by selling everything. They started by selling one thing until they were known for that, until they had mastered it. Then you can spread out. Now you can take that into the personal brand space. I love The Rock. I love Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
That's
And
my guy. Come
right,
on.
what did he start as? What did he become known for?
Wrestler.
Right? He started.
If you can smell. What's
Right?
the
But it's
Yeah,
like
I
he
love,
didn't
yeah.
start with a tequila brand and being an actor and now a
Wow.
hair company and a this and a this. He didn't do that, right? There was focus. There was absolute focus in becoming known and excellent in one thing. It's about going deep before you go wide. Most people go wide and never go deep. And so
So,
there is.
so let me stop you again because I want to talk. So you brought up The Rock. I'm like that's like I'm like fanboy with The Rock. I'll admit it. That's the guy. Like if somebody's like, "Hey, who do you want to be like?" To me, it's The Rock, right? Like that's so. Talk about his going deep. Like what? Because you're right. If he's a great example, like he's done so much now, right? But if you go back to it, he was a wrestler and he was just a different, like when he showed up, he just showed up different.
Yep.
So let's talk about what does his going deep look like for our audience and how could they, I'm not saying be the Rock or copy the Rock, but utilize that same depth.
Yep. So one of the things that we talk about, we have a new book coming out called Wealthy and Well Known. Build your personal brand and turn your reputation into revenue. And one of the things that we walk through in the book is this concept that we call Sheehan's Wall. Now, Sheehan's Wall was named after an amazing individual named Peter Sheehan. He's a true marketing thought leader. So we accredit a lot of we named this after him because he's what inspired this idea. So here's what I want you to think about it if you're listening or watching to this, that right in front of you, there's a wall. Okay. And on the left-hand side of the wall, we're going to call that obscurity. We're going to call that being unknown, right? On the right-hand side of the wall, we're going to call that notoriety or being known. And this doesn't mean being, like Dwayne The Rock Johnson or, Mr. Worldwide Pitbull himself. Like we're not talking about being worldwide, but are you known in your industry? Are you known in your hometown, in your region? Are you known for the thing that you want to be known for? Are you known for your topic? Are you known for whatever that is, right? It's just being known in a way that when people think of you, do they think of what you want them to think of, right? And that is being connected to this thing that is probably most likely your primary business model, okay? Now, what happens is that most people never break through the wall. There are tons of people who started in WWE who never became The Rock. They never did. They never transferred from this thing over here to all these different businesses. And they just never did it. And we could use tons of examples of businesses who started in one thing and who never expanded, like Amazon. And I could give you tons of people like Ellen DeGeneres. She broke through the wall as a comedian. Oprah Winfrey, she broke through the wall as being a news reporter. Gary Fee, he broke through the wall doing wine reviews, right? It's like he didn't start as a marketer, right? That's what he became. That's not where he started. And so going deep means I'm not going to be distracted until I become known for the thing. So people living in this wall on the left-hand side of the wall are obscure because they have too many business models. They have too many topics they talk about, right? They have too many revenue streams. They're on too many platforms, right? There's Too many, too many, too many, too many. And that's like what I refer to as like the difference between a water hose and a pressure washer, right? A water hose means we're doing okay, we're doing average at a whole bunch of stuff, right? And there's just never enough pressure for there ever to make an impact that could break through this wall. But if you're a pressure washer, that means that there is streamlined focus in one area that can penetrate through something. We have the same ability to do that with our reputation, our personal brand, i.e. our business. But it comes through intentional focus of, I'm going to remove distraction. I'm going to make the main thing, because this is where I have the most momentum. This is where I have the most opportunity to become known for something. And what the smartest people do that we have seen in this field is that they wait. They wait until they break through the wall. And once they break through the wall and they're already known for this one thing, now they have opportunity and leverage to do new things, right? It's like he had to wait, right? The Rock had to wait until he had broken through the wall before he had the leverage to start a tequila company and now the hair stuff. I mean, he doesn't have hair. He has hair products.
Isn't that funny? My daughter, we go to Target. In Target, he's got the big, the big display, and my daughter's like, The Rock, and he's talking about hair products, and like, I don't even have hair. Like, I don't have hair.
Have serious.
I love it.
To have no hair and be selling hair products.
The Rock, yeah, because he's The Rock, right? So is he just because? So let's. And Rock's just who we're talking about, but this relates to every person listening to this. Is he able to do this because he's The Rock, or is he able to do this because he's such a good businessman and he just utilized, like, right? Because some of us would think, well, if he's The Rock, I mean, of course he can do that. Like, I could never do that because I'm not The Rock, right?
But take it down to a very normal everyday level. And I want to encourage you, as well as everyone who's listening, to just ask yourself a simple question, right? Just ask yourself, if I wanted to go to the newest, hottest restaurant in town tonight, who would I call to figure out who that was? Like who would I call? Like, who knows the place to go? Right? So I just want you to think about it. Like, this is a very simple, everyday example of this exact same thing, because here's what happens. All of us become known for something, intentionally or unintentionally. And the reason I start with such a simple question is because most of us have that friend or that family member or that colleague or whoever who's, they're the foodie, they're the, the restaurant snob. It's like, I know who I'm going to call because they have such high standards, right? It's like, you could say, it's like, hey, I need a new hairstylist. Who am I going to call? Like, most of us do not go to Google and type in best hairstylist, Nashville, Tennessee, right? I don't go in and go hottest new restaurant, Nashville, Tennessee. It's like, no, I'm going to call my friend who to me is known for being the foodie, being the stylist, knowing the best doctor, knowing whatever. And I think that's the point here is we are all becoming known for something. Personal branding, right? The whole concept of this term of personal branding is not new. The terminology is new, but the concept of reputation is not new. We all have a reputation, and thus we all have a personal brand. The difference between a reputation and a personal brand is one word: intentionality. And personal branding is the art of becoming known for what you want to be known for. And so what I think The Rock, as well as Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, Brene Brown, and 100 other examples I could give you, Dave Ramsey, Gary Vee, the list goes on, and what they have been amazing at is focus. They have been amazing at branding with intentionality of, I will be the person who drills the concept of debt is dumb for the rest of my life, right? That's Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
Right? That's
great.
Saying the same thing for 20 years. It has not changed. He is.
Yeah, it's so good. No, you know what you're saying is so good, and I'm just agreeing with you because it's so true. I mean, you don't, even if you don't agree with the guy, it doesn't matter. He's got his people that are like, yes, I'm with you, right? I think Donald Trump's also a great example of this, right? Like, how many people like just hate the guy's guts with a passion, but yet what he's able to achieve because he's so all in, right? On his,
Very clear about
yeah,
what he is for, right? We don't have to agree
yeah,
with it. We don't have
yeah,
to
yeah.
agree with it, but he is very clear. And the thing that I appreciate about Donald Trump is there is no facade. What you
Mm,
see is what you get. And that is a brand. Now, I'm not saying we're all trying to aspire to that, but what I am
yeah.
saying is that it's very clear. It's not confusing, right?
No, that's a great point.
We have to be clear.
Can we give and yeah, so can we give some and I, I again, I don't agree with Donald Trump on everything, but I think he is 100% clear, he's transparent, you know who he is. There's no there's no like confusion when you're listening to him. Um for our listeners though, and then I want to ask you another question about events after. Well, give us a couple. What are three strategies people can use for our listeners right now? And we also want to make sure that people get a copy of your book after. So we're gonna let them know how to do that. But what are three strategies you want to give our listeners right now to say, hey, here's a way you can go out there, start building your brand and getting known for what you do.
Yes, love that. So you'll have to remind me once I do three because I may get on a roll and forget
That's okay.
three.
Well, they gotta forget the rest of them. They're gonna get your book.
That's
They'll
right.
connect with you.
Well, I would say we have an entire chapter. It's chapter 4 in our book, Wealthy and Well Known, dedicated to this one thing. And I got to give major props before I say this because I don't want anyone to hear what I'm not saying. First of all, Simon Sinek is one of my favorite thought leaders and favorite authors of all time. And if you don't know who he is, he's got several books, but one of my favorite books is Start With Why, right? Leaders Eat Last is actually my favorite book, but Start With Why, right? If you don't want to read the whole book, go listen to the TED Talk. And I think it's brilliant. And I think it's amazing. And I think it's very specific to business brands. I do not agree that Start With Why is where you start for building a personal brand. I do believe that that makes sense. Hi.
Penelope, you want to say hi?
Nice to meet
Say hi
you.
the way you normally say it with confidence.
Hi.
She's a competition dancer. She's here with me today, so
I
she
love
just popped up. Yeah, she's awesome. Her birthday was Thursday. We had a birthday party yesterday. It's Penelope.
Happy
Oh,
birthday,
she
Penelope.
can't really hear you because I have these in. You want to put one in? Say hi.
Happy birthday.
Tell them about the rock.
No,
All right, all right.
About
I
this.
love you. I'll talk to you later. Thanks. All right, I will. I'll be down in a minute. Hey, thanks. All right, yeah, it's my little one. My kids are home, obviously, with summer, so my
So
wife's
cute.
out. Yeah, she's awesome. So it's funny because I always talk about with her the rock, and
I know that.
yeah,
Talk about it. I know.
yeah. So she's also a huge fan of what's her name, Taylor Swift, and that other one, Laduba. What's the lady's name? Dalupa? Is that who it is?
Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa. Yeah, I can't. Dua Lipa. Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, yeah. If you're gonna look, you know what? If you want to be like, look up to them. I'm fine if you want to be like that at that
Taylor
level,
Swift knows her
right?
market, right? She's
Yeah. Amen. Sorry, I interrupted you, but she came up and
but so I was saying is like Simon Sinek start with why. And I think that's very unique and very specific for business brands. But that is not what we suggest for starting a personal brand. For building your personal brand, it's not start with why. It's actually start with who, right? Which is ironic. You mentioned Dua Lipa and Taylor Swift and The Rock. They know their who. It's why they're so successful. They are so tapped in to the person that they appeal to that it's like a magnet, right? And that's one of the things that we talk about is you want to learn how to be a magnet to your core target audience, to your avatar, not a megaphone, right? You got to be a magnet. And what we believe is that the best way to build your personal brand is for you to be extraordinarily, intimately acquainted with the who that you're supposed to serve in your business. And most of us spend too much time thinking about pricing packages, the way that we have things oriented, what's included, where do we go, and we skip the most important step. And I'm not talking about doing one of those checklist exercises or fill in the blank things. That's like, what are the psychographics and demographics? Yes, do I think those are helpful? But that's not what I'm talking about. And if you're listening and you're going, yeah, I've done that before. And it's like, well, if your business isn't thriving, I challenge that you haven't done it right. Because what I know is that when you know exactly who your who is, you don't have to ask questions such as, what do they want from me? You already know. You don't have to ask the question, where do I find them? You already know. You don't have to ask the question, can they afford this? You already know. And if you're catching yourself saying stuff like, well, I don't know why my business isn't growing anymore, it's the wrong question. You need to get back to, who is my who? What do they need? What do they want from me? What would they buy from me? What questions do they have? What dreams do they have? What problems do they have? It has to be centered around the who. And most of us just don't go back to that near enough. We don't think about the who when we make content, when we make pricing decisions, when we're reorienting branding or packaging. We just skip over it. And we forget that all of this was centered on a person, right? It's not you, it's a person. And if you're struggling at any part of your business right now, I would just encourage that you take a deep, hard look at, how clear am I on who I'm reaching? And am I reaching them in the right way? And I believe most business problems actually come from, you've lost touch with who. You've lost touch with the who. And if you're sitting here going, I don't even know who my who is, then I'll give you one, kind of expert advanced tip. The who that you are best and most well positioned to serve is the person that you used to be.
That's good.
Right? And we say that all the time. It's like, you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were, because you know them the best. Right? You know what it was like to be in their shoes. You know what it's like to go through those hard times. You know what it's like for these struggles. But most importantly, you know how to help them overcome it, because that's what you do now. Right? It's like, part of this is it's realizing that a lot of our purpose in life actually comes through a person. It's like every single pain that we've ever gone through is equipping and preparing us to go back and help a certain type of person, i.e., the person that we used to be. It's the deepest and most meaningful way that we can change our life. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is the best form of marketing in the world is a changed life. You change someone's life, they can't help but tell everyone they know about you. And everyone around them can't help but ask, because they're like, what are you doing? Like, you're doing great. You look great. Your business is great. Like, what are you doing? Right? And it's like, we forget that the way we grow our business is from helping our customers have life-changing experiences. Right? And it's like, a part of that is, do we know what they need? Do we know how to help them? And I believe that is the number one thing that we've got to do. Step one in building your personal brand is you've got to have an intimate relationship with the who that you're trying to serve. That's number one.
All right, amazing. All right, give us the next two, and you can give us what's up, kiddo? My little girl's standing. Let me again. Yeah, give us the next two, and then I want to get into your book, and then we're going to start wrapping it up for today. And I want people to reach out to you to get more information, because this is great information that you're giving us today. Thank you.
Number two is, you've got to identify what problem you solve. Right? So if you know who your who is, then you have to know, what are you the solution to? Right? And it's a singular problem. It's not problems. This goes back to focus, right? This goes back to the whole concept around, you can be good at a lot of things. It's really hard to be great at a lot of things in the beginning. You need focus. And so what is this singular problem that you solve for your who? And what we believe is that most people will spend more money solving problems than they will on luxuries, right? That's why certain economic times and market conditions, most businesses like HVAC repair and car repair stores, they thrive because they're essential. Like, if your heating or your air goes out, you got to fix it, right? You may not take that vacation. You may not buy that new car. You may not go to that dinner. You may not invest in this, but for the basics, the problems, you're going to fix them, right? Your tire blows out. You got to fix the tire. Don't get to do this, but you got to do this, right? People spend more money on fixing problems than they do on luxuries. And so we have to be clear on what problem do we solve for our who. And it's not problems, it's a singular problem.
All right. So one is the who. Number two is the problem you solve for the who. And what's three?
You have to know what is your command, action-oriented message for how you help your who solve that problem.
Okay. Tell us more about that. Command-oriented message. What does that mean?
That means it has to be actionable. It has to be, like when I say command oriented, that means I don't have to ask how. So a lot of messaging, I would give you a great example. So let's just say somebody goes, okay, the problem I solve for my audience is scarcity, right? I serve an audience that has extreme scarcity, right? And this could be insurance. This could, I think of lots of different like products.
Scarcity, like what, mindset, or like what do you mean by scarcity?
It could also be like, hey, I have a real fear of not having anything. Like, so I think insurance, right? A lot of it's, and I don't say this in a negative way, right? I have lots of insurance, I buy it, but they sell it out of a fear of scarcity of like, hey, what if this is all gone and I have nothing?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So that maybe that's the problem. That's like, hey, people have a real scarcity mentality around what happens if my partner dies, what happens if my house burns down, or it could be a scarcity mindset. That is fair too.
Security too, though, right? I mean, it would be security for a lot of people.
Security is not a problem.
Mm.
Security is not a problem, and that's where people get this mixed up. Right? Scarcity is a problem. Security is not a problem. So if we're always talking about security, we're selling a benefit. People don't buy off of benefits. They buy off of what problem do I have? And that's where a lot of marketing gets mixed messaging.
So scarcity is the loss. Like I'm going to lose. I'm going to miss out.
One of the benefits of your product gives you security.
Got it. Okay, good.
Or scarcity. But what a lot of people get just wildly incorrect is this whole message part. One, they don't know what a problem is, right? And it's like, if you can only think about the benefits, just take the inverse of the benefits. Go to thesaurus.com, look up the antonyms, and literally take the reverse of security, the reverse of abundance, reverse of whatever. The challenge with most people is they cannot give a clear message of how you solve their problem. And that is a really big problem for most people, because they'll say, I solve the problem of, scarcity. And how do you do that? I give you high value products at a low cost. That is not a message, right? That is not a message. I'll give you a great example at Brand Builders Group. The problem that we solve for our audience is obscurity. Like, we serve the people who are true experts in their fields, and unfortunately, no one knows about them. They've spent their entire lives actually honing their craft, learning how to be great, researching, perfecting, doing their job. Like they are the true experts. But what they haven't spent near enough time is learning how to tell people about what they do. Right?
So let me question. So the message would not be security. The message would be like, we help people, like nobody knows you, right? Like we'll help you, like, or I don't know, however you word the message, but it would be like, you're the guy, the best in the world in water bottles, but yet nobody knows who you are.
Right. So obscurity is the problem. And our message to our audience is so simple. It's like, if you're completely obscure, then simply teach what you know. So what most people are doing is they're not actually vocalizing and verbalizing that this is what I know. They keep it close to the chest and only share it with their clients. And what we're saying is like, no, you have to tell everyone what you know. So for us, if you live in this world of like, I have the problem of obscurity, no one knows who I am, and I do a damn job, then our message is then teach what you know. Teach it on podcasts, teach it on social media, teach it in books, teach it on stages, teach what you know. You don't have to teach what you don't know, but back to focus, but teach what you know, right? That's just one, simple example for our brand. Is no one has to say, how do you do that? But so many people try to use marketing language in their messaging. And the messaging has to be clear, concise, and actionable. And it's like, I need to be able to be driving down the road on the interstate going 70 miles an hour, see it on a billboard and go, I got it. I understand. Not, wow, what a great theoretical question. I wonder what that means. Right? A lot of people have messaging around like, just find your purpose. That's not a message. Right? How do you find your purpose? What do you mean find your purpose? It's like, no, you got to have your unique lens on how you help someone find their purpose.
Yeah.
And so the messaging, people get to marketing, they get to ethereal, they get to abstract. And it's like, it has to be simple, actionable, and most importantly, clear. People have to understand it so they can go do it. Nobody buys complicated. People don't care, no offense, if you're the world's greatest plumber. They just want to know that you can do a great job and come fix my sink. I don't need you to be the world's best anything. I just need you to know that I have a problem and that I have to trust that you can fix it. You don't have to be the world's best. I just have to know you exist, and I have to believe that you can do it.
Yeah. Well, the $1 million question though is, there's so many plumbers. How do you stand out over all the other plumbers, right? Like,
the way that you stand out is, who are you the best plumber for? Most plumbers try to be a general plumber to anyone. But what if you were the plumber that only serviced people in this part of town, or only served this type of house, or you did this niche type of plumber, or you did it for this unique type of person?
it's brilliant. Yeah, 100%. You nailed it today. I just thank you. You really did. I have this one last question I want to ask you, because it's something I've always been interested in. And I remember one of the last times I saw Zig Ziglar, they had a big seminar come into town, and Zig was one of, I don't know, probably 25 speakers. He was the grand finale, and you see these events all the time with all these speakers. I feel like I've done a couple of them years ago. I haven't done them in years. I did it with Jarek Robbins, Tony's son, and a bunch of other real estate guys. But I'm just curious, why you said you had that business doing 8 figures, and obviously I know what happened with the falling out, but why did you not go back into that business? Why did you go away from it? Is it something that you're going to go back into again in the future? I'm just curious, because it's something I'm very interested in.
Yeah, and I bet one of those last conferences you saw Zig at was the Get Motivated series.
I think it was, yeah, out in Hartford. Yeah, it was. Zig was awesome. It wasn't quite the same Zig, but yeah, it was still.
Yeah, we probably saw him around that same time, and we're good friends with the Ziglers. And I'll tell you one of the reasons that we made a very designated shift in our business when we got the opportunity to restart is that in the prior 13 years up to me getting fired was a very B2B business heavy environment. So even though we worked with individuals, it was still on the behalf of a company. And what we found is that most trust lies within people brands, not business brands. And we started to see this edge in the market, this shift where there was a loss of trust in corporate brands, but an increase of trust in personal brands. And personally, think about ourselves. It's like most of it's, I don't have a relationship with a company. I have a relationship with a person who works for a company. And there has been a growing decrease, a growing decline on the overarching trust of corporate brands over the last 5 years. And this isn't necessarily new. It's just growing at an exponential rate because of social media, because of YouTube, because of TikTok, because of all these platforms where every individual gets the opportunity to be their own media company. I think that's good and bad. I think it's both. I believe that social media, like anything, is a tool. It can be wielded for good, it can be wielded for evil, just like anything else in this world. I think there is great power and great responsibility in all these things. But what we started to see, and we have great statistical proof on it, we led a study in 2021 called the Trends in Personal Branding. It was the first ever national research study done on the impact and the growth of the era of the personal brand. And I think it was really important as this is a trend. It's not a fad, right? Just like social media, it's trending upward. It's not a fad, which means it's going to go away overnight. It's a trend that is growing because of the intimate environment of which people and how they're consuming content. And people do not consume corporate content. They do not consume company content. They follow a personality. They follow someone that they relate to, that they know, like, and trust, right? Just look at your social media. Who do you follow? Tell me how many corporate brands it is. I know it's less than a handful. I know it is. That's not how it works. And so we decided to go all in on the person, because what we found in our personal experience is that when we worked with a person, not a company, it was passion fueled, mission driven, and purpose oriented. It wasn't about top line and bottom line. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just believe that money is a byproduct of doing a great service. And companies have lost sight of that in many regard. And I think the bigger you get, the harder it is to go, right? Are we in daily touch with our who? Are we remembering why we got into this business? Are we living out this mission and purpose and passion of actually helping the people that we're making products and services for? And I just saw that the more the people got involved, the more that got lost. And it was about sales and numbers and quotas and who gets to stay and who has to go. And as we started working with individuals in this, it was about my life's mission. It was about the calling that I have on my life. It was about, I have to do this even if I don't make money doing it. Like, I have to do this. There's something that has been put on my heart that I can't not share. And that is what drives us. And that is ultimately, we feel like we're living our life's calling today because we're helping other people's messages get out into the world.
I'm muted. Your book is called Wealthy and Well-Known, Build Your Personal Brand and Turn Your Reputation into Revenue, which is coming out in July. So we want to let people know how they can get a copy of your book.
Yes, so you can go to the book's website, wealthyandwellknown.com. If you buy it through the website, it comes with a whole bunch of awesome bonuses. But of course, it's at all the retailers. You can pick it up on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, your favorite local retailer. You'll find it in all the normal book places, or you can also go to wealthyandwellknown.com. And if you buy it there, you get a whole bunch of awesome extra bonuses and resources.
Amazing. So do this. Give me your, like we talked about a lot today, and great. I'm looking forward to going back myself, re-listening to it. But what would you say would be the one big thing you want everybody to take? If they could only walk away with one thing, what would it be?
Oh, it would be really going back to that quote that we mentioned earlier. It's like, if you forget everything that's said in this interview, it's remembering that you were made for a purpose and for a person. And that if you really, really want to grow your business, change the world, have a bigger impact, make a bigger income, that it all centers around a who, and that you are always most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were.
Well, thank you again for being on the show. I thought you did a really, really good job, and I appreciate it. I think, you know what you shared. I can tell is real. It's authentic. I know I get a lot of people on that are just trying to get started and trying to kind of in some cases you can tell they haven't even figured it out, but I can tell you guys really figured it out. So congratulations on that. I'm looking forward to connecting with you, and we'll have to have you on again after your book comes out. All right.
Thank you. We're super excited about it. So thank you so much for having me on today.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks again.